Hello, how are you and welcome. Hope you're all doing well today. Who's first? Donna, welcome Donna. Hello, hello. Sean is here. Very nice. Thank you. And DeWolf, hello. Molly and Mercedes. Hey Mercedes. Molly Moose, welcome. And Golden Amethyst. Hi there, Nixon. Very nice looking. Hey, how you doing? And Mother of Messages. Thank you for joining today. All right, so I want to jump right in. And oh, wow. Juan, hello, Juan. Welcome, Juan. It's so nice to see you. I've missed you for a while, but I've been seeing you, and I appreciate all your support and love, good brother. He's another that we're on this marathon. When I look over to the side, I look for Juan. We've been on this, right? On this marathon for a while. That's right. We keep each other encouraged, right? Hello, Jamie. Welcome, welcome. Thank you. So I want to talk about, if you were on the call today, let me know. Whoever, I know I saw some of our names in the listing of the Zoom call from earlier today at noon. And welcome from Facebook. I'll come over and see you there. But there was a Zoom call that I've been mentioning when I learned about it. I'm on an email newsletter list. Very wonderful man. And that's Jim Grappuck and Charles Froman. They have a newsletter, and I found out about it through a friend. So I don't know if you have any newsletters that come to your emails, but they can be very, very valuable information. So don't gloss over emails. I know email can be a little bit of it depends, right? Sometimes I have lots of spam and I have email issues. I have to get everything consolidated into one email due to censorship issues. You know the thing. So you were on it, Molly. Good. If you want, I want people who were on the Zoom call I'm going to drop a link. And if you were on the Zoom call and you want to share any impressions of this forum from today, I would love if you did, Molly. So think about that, Molly, and anyone else that was on it. Hey, Joseph, welcome. So nice to have you up with us over in Ireland. Hey, Phyllis, how you doing? Welcome. Okay, so again, if you did tune into the forum, you heard an amazing man speaking. His name is Richard Gage, and he is represented in the thumbnail. You'll see Richard and his wife. Okay, his wife's name is Gail. So the Gages have been working just on the front lines of getting truth into the public conversation, bring it down from the high up, like, things that we could not access, the type of maybe inquiries and things like that. It needs to come to a level where the average, we the people, can have conversations, different conversations, because we're looking at 2 decades now from events that happened in 2001. And we need to have conversations about moving forward in taking back our republic, because we've been usurped through lots of emergency types of actions and things that they usurp our Constitution. So we must be aware, because it's going to be constant fear mongering, and then people cry out for the solution, which is control. And it is just rinse and repeat. So someone says a little static. Okay, let me check it out. 1 minute, thank you. I'm just going to check one thing that seems to work, and you let me know now. What does it sound like now? Is it better? Let me know. I'll wait. I won't. Blah, 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 blah. It's great now? Okay, good. Yes, the Hegelian dialectic, if you're familiar with that, that's the let's create the problem and then sell you the solution, because they've gotten very bold with, they sell you the very solution that's going to take away your rights and your privileges. Thank you so much for letting me know about the sound. Hey, Betty Daly, look at that. Give some love to our sister Betty. She's been with us too on this marathon, right, Betty? We've been out here together for a while. We love when you are joining us in the chatmosphere, Betty. Welcome and much love. So, yes, thank you, Nixon. It's the problem, reaction, solution. That's how they do it. Yes, indeed. So it's to a point now that it's just very insulting, I'll say. Now, I'll say this again. I mentioned it on the radio live stream that everyone, even you see Joseph is here, and we'll probably have more people from our family that live around the world realm. I almost said globe. I'm breaking it. I'm breaking it. It's happening. So the world realm, I like to say, instead of globe, we're off of the globe stuff, okay? And all of us worldwide were impacted by so many events that have happened. I'll just repeat some of the things I talked about earlier. Again, with the things that happened, JFK assassination. Many people in our chatmosphere do remember they were alive during those times. And we've had people from the United Kingdom say that they remember seeing their aunties or sisters or mom crying just, inconsolably on the day that JFK was assassinated. So this affected people worldwide. And I I want us to focus on the current things, because that particular thing, as much as they've done movies and things, it's such an insult at the end of it. Like Girl Code and I watched, remember we watched and did a breakdown of that movie that came on Netflix, remember? And it was like 8-part series, and it dealt with 11, I think it was called 1163, right? Or something like that. Tell me if you remember. It was a few videos ago, last year. No, not last year, this year. You know what? You can look down at the video list, but we did a breakdown of this particular series, and it was just really interesting, I'll say. But the thing that was frustrating is at the end of this series, we went right back to, the same theories. It wasn't anything that moved the understanding or made you feel like you can resonate with truth, because it's just still more confusion and gaslighting, I'll say. So with that particular thing, I think that, we will find answers and justice for it. The thing about 2001, 9/11, many of us that are alive right now, we can recall the events. But being that we've had 20 years, so, 2 decades gives you enough of new birth and people that had no experience touch point with this event. So you can see how things can then change, because children coming up now, they will have no idea about the events of September. So we need to keep the history correct and demanding investigations, real investigations, not the stuff they did with the JFK assassination or whatever they did with the 9/11 hearings that have already happened. We already know we know that it didn't happen the way they told us. And it's obvious now. They've lost complete control of that narrative, and the people need to demand investigations. So this gentleman and his wife have been traveling around. He is an architect. Let me give you his background. Richard Gage is an architect of 30 years from the San Francisco Bay Area and a member of the American Institute of Architects and the founder and former CEO of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. He is now independent, okay? He, along with his courageous wife and assistant Gail, continues to lead the charge toward a real investigation into the destruction of all three World Trade Center skyscrapers on 9/11. And he has developed so many pieces of content or receipts. If you go to his let me put his website, okay, so you'll have this in your, it's at least you can look it up when you get a chance. So it's richardgage911.org, and it's a great, really great site. Okay, let me make sure it is. All right. So that's his website. And during he's now like getting out and about. I am going to invite him on this live stream, okay? So I'll work that out to have him and his wife as guests to just talk to us and answer questions, tell us how to get connected, because this is a call to action, okay? I think that should be clear. This is a call to action. We do not have the luxury of sitting back and allowing someone else to take care of it, or putting our heads in the sand, or thinking we're back to some kind of normal or whatever, like just distractions and things that happen. We have to get engaged with this effort, this movement, because it affects us more than we know. And we need truth. So there you are. That's exactly my opinion too. There you are. Hey, Rosie Pie, welcome. Peace and love to you. That's right. So again, let me put that back up for you. And you could just jot it down and have it maybe as a save. You'll really get a lot of out of this website. It has videos and everything from his speaking engagements and everything. So let me know if anything happens with the sound. I'll be keeping an eye out to see if anything's happening, okay? But during his architectural career, he has worked most types of building construction, including numerous fireproofed, steel-framed buildings. Most recently, a $400 million mixed-use urban project with 1.2 million square feet of retail, 320,000 square feet of mid-rise office space and parking structure, and altogether consisting of about 1,200 tons of steel framing. So this is to let you know that he has a lot of knowledge on steel, okay? Steel frames and steel, columns. So the various columns, I think it was like 20 or more columns that were at the foundation of the World Trade Center buildings. So he had a lot to say to us about that. He is not someone that's going to talk to you from an ivory tower, even though he's been an architect for so many years. He talks to you on your level of understanding. So don't feel like, oh, he's an architect, he'll be talking lots of technical stuff. It was very easy to understand everything he was saying if you're not familiar with him. So just know that was a very nice thing to know, that he's so warm and just easy going. Okay. And so on the site, again, lots of stuff for you, books and links and everything. Okay. And I want to also talk about the man who, to me, should be never forgotten. Never forgotten is Mr. Barry Jennings. And I'm going to put his name because I want you all to say his name, as they always say. This is someone just like, near and dear to me is Dr. Timothy Jarrell Cunningham. I've done a video about him too. If you're new to the channel, you could look up some older videos from last year. I did a breakdown on Dr. Timothy Jarrell Cunningham. I probably need to do a new one because it was a while ago. I'm sure it's new stuff. I've talked about it off and on because I would like to do another live stream with Girl Code, and I want to talk about the HIV/AIDS bioweapon. Okay, and I want to revisit that. We talked about that also a year ago, but I want to talk about it now because you've probably noticed a lot of commercials suddenly. Lots of big pharma commercials. Not that I watch TV a lot, but you don't have to watch TV a lot if you just sort of graze by TV, or if you're here on YouTube, they have a few here too, but definitely a bombardment of ads from big pharma. So a lot of the ads are back to the HIV/AIDS medications, and it seems to be a big push right now, I've noticed. So I want to look into that. So let me talk to you about Barry Jennings. Now, Barry Jennings was an eyewitness. He's also in the thumbnail, and let me put his name up also because he is definitely someone who we never need to forget about him, and I know they want us to. Okay, and I want to hear what you all think when I read this to you. Okay, so Barry Jennings. Barry Jennings was an eyewitness to the events of 9/11. At the time, he was the deputy director of the Emergency Services Department for the New York City Housing Authority. Together with Michael Hess, the New York City Corporation Counsel, and associate of Rudy Giuliani, he was rescued from World Trade Center Building 7 by a long ladder before it collapsed at 5:20 p.m. on 5:20 p.m. On several occasions, Jennings stated that an explosion trapped them in World Trade Center Building 7 before the collapses of World Trade Center 1 and 2, and that explosions occurred throughout the building until they were saved after attracting the attention of a team of firefighters through a broken 8th floor window. Jennings, okay, please listen up right now. I'm going to sit back and I want you to tell me what you think, okay? You ready? 420? You flamed on? All right. Let me read this again. It's just so crazy. Let me just read it, okay? All right. Jennings disappeared in 2008, reportedly unalived of natural causes. But his family also disappeared at the same time. I'll wait. I want to see. I need to see what that sounds like to you. Right? One. What? Right? Okay. Can I repeat it? Hold it. Let me repeat it. Okay. I'm going to go back up. I'm going to back up a bit. Okay. Barry Jennings was rescued from World Trade Center Building 7 by a long ladder before it collapsed at 5:20 p.m. On several occasions, Jennings stated that an explosion trapped them in World Trade Center Building 7 before the collapses of World Trade Center Buildings 1 and 2, and that explosions occurred throughout the building until they were saved after attracting the attention of a team of firefighters through a broken 8th floor window. Attention, please. Jennings disappeared in 2008, reportedly unalive of natural causes, but his family also disappeared at the same time. Is your tinfoil tingling right now? Let me know. What? Puff, puff, he disappeared? Yeah, Phyllis. Okay. So now for my notes from the forum, okay? If you attended the forum today at noon, let me know, because if you want to come on and talk about your understanding of it, let me know. Okay, Nancy says, sounds like a killery job to you. Does it? And Tina, hey Tina, welcome. You say directed energy weapons did that to those buildings and unalived from what they. Oh, yeah, right. I know, right? Wall Dragon, you weren't ready for that, right? I mean, it's been kind of like, I don't know if I understood that he was, they said natural causes. I didn't know that they were gaslighting us that badly, because I wasn't paying attention a lot to him until I watched like Loose Change. I think they covered Barry Jennings, right? And a few people interviewed him. I knew it was kind of there, but I think I just got busy and everything and forgot about him. But he's very critical. His eyewitness testimony was unreal. If you get to watch a video, you can look him up. Hey Amber, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a minute. Welcome back. It's still what? And why wait so long? Yeah, why? Yeah, so you said same year Barry was selected. Oh, was that the same year? Okay. Because you know about the woman who demanded an investigation. She was the one that she opted out of whatever the settlement was for that. Remember her? And she was the one that she confronted Barry. Oh, bummer. And you can see the picture of her, and she looks like she's really asking him, pointed questions. From my understanding, she did not take the settlement money because she wanted the truth. She rather have the truth than the settlement. So she wound up also unalived. I believe it was a plane crash. You can double check me. So I'm going to talk about the notes from today. Okay. So This was a COVID-19 9/11 forum. It was on Zoom. Jim Grappick and Charles Frohman hosted. And the special guest was Richard Gage. His wife wasn't on this particular Zoom, but I want to invite both he and his wife. I would love to talk to her, have her talk to us as well. Okay, so these are just some of the highlights I'm just bringing up. You know, the thing that we know about, we should just always remember that there was $2.3 trillion missing that Donald Rumsfeld announced. And that was the day before the events. Okay. So, what Richard was saying was, we are facing the abuse of science and also draconian censorship and control. This happened with 9/11 in 2001, and it happened in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic. So again, I'll repeat, he said the things that, because he sees the narratives, they are very intertwined. The abuse of science, draconian censorship and control. And he calls this the cover up of the century. So 9/11 truth, as they call it, a movement, it is now headed to the mainstream, everybody. So put on your seatbelts, because we're going to make it, we're going to take the roof off of the lies, okay? The roof of lies is on fire, right? So it's going mainstream like so many things, right? Lots of things, lots of weird things going on at one time. Hard to keep up with it all, but we have help, right? Certain people, we have our little niche, you know, and we can keep each other in the know. All right, so 35,000 architects and engineers are demanding, you hear, demanding real investigations. Now that's something really, really good, because I have not been close to this movement in a while. I've been sort of distracted, right? Detached, and just wanting to forget it. But the thing about trauma, it's not forgotten. Trauma that is not dealt with and not healed, it just gets, pushed down. And some people compartmentalize it so they can at least have some um, just self-preservation. And it's something we all experienced. And I thought about, again, I'll mention John. We do the Exploring the Matrix on Mondays. And John was talking about how 9/11 traumatized him. And, we were just talking about how it traumatized us. And I remembered, I told you all, I had to move from the East Coast to the West Coast. I did not feel safe just even thinking about living on the East Coast, even though, I had my mom and everybody back there, but it was like when that happened, I went into like a survival kind of, and that's what, because I already have PTSD kind of stuff going on. So it becomes this, I got to survive kind of thing. Anyone that knows, what I'm talking about. It may not make sense, but it wasn't such a weird thing to move to the West Coast, because I have lots of family and friends over there. So it wasn't really a big thing, but nonetheless, that's a big reaction to move to the West Coast, because of it. But that's what happened to me, and other things that I will talk about at another time. Some of the PTSD triggering. And a lot of us would probably eventually want to have a class action lawsuit against the perpetrators because of the trauma and the impact of the trauma on us. And the statute of limitations, I don't know about law, but every year that they re-traumatize us probably starts a new cycle of statutes of limitations, wouldn't you think? Because even though it's like 20 something years ago, they keep re-traumatizing us. So I'm thinking that it just happened September 11th, memorials. So a lot of us probably were re-triggered. So I'm thinking we should have that also as a part of the conversation, to have some redress of what has happened to us. Okay. And so Richard Gage said that, I think it was back in, during the Obama administration, he was able to, because I forget his story, and that's why I want him to come on. I forget what it was that made him wake up to the truth movement. It probably was 9/11, which it was for a lot of us, where he just felt like he had to start speaking out because he knew that he was confronting a lot of lies. From his understanding of architecture, being an architect for over 30 years, he's going to know about structural integrity. And when he heard the narrative, it did not make sense to him. And he started to speak out. Now, back in the Obama administration, as to repeat, he was able to get on to C-SPAN, he said. Now, he dropped a lot of truth in this C-SPAN. And C-SPAN, don't sleep on it. Sometimes we get some really major truth unfiltered from C-SPAN. So I know you've probably caught some really good C-SPANs in the past. So just know that can sometimes be a good, like they slip up. And that's what he said. He was able to slip in. Thank God that he does that. We can slip in and go under the radar, sometimes behind enemy lines, and we can do a mission, okay, for truth. And he was able to talk about the counter narrative of 9/11, and Obama had done a C-SPAN also around the same time. Well, Richard Gage's C-SPAN outranked Obama's. That's how much people were engaged and wanted to hear a counter to all of the gaslighting. So he said that the ratings were way past Obama. And this is during the Obama worship. Everybody was, well, not everybody, but your family was worshiping Obama back then. So he was a rock star to the people. So for Richard Gage to outrank him in ratings, that tells you that the people want to know what happened. And they never invited him back. Even though he was a ratings success, he was never invited to speak on C-SPAN again. And he had another opportunity to slip under the radar, and that would be when they opened up the 9/11 Memorial Museum or something. He was able to now listen to this. This was amazing. They had the brochures to hand to the public as they were coming to, excuse me, my eye is itching. I'm so sorry. Okay. So as they had the brochures for this opening, he had the counter narrative printed up, and he and his wife, I big up to his wife, shout out, because she is one of those wives that you talk about, that I love to see, a team like that just doing something like they are crusaders for the truth, and so they were able to slip the truth into the brochures. Can you believe that? This man is he's got the hand of God on him, okay? So I just love that kind of stuff. That's like up my alley, as they say, okay? Really creative, and that could be a real inspiration to a lot of us. You can do things that are totally non-traditional. You know what I did once, the quick story. I fired up about something. Well, I just put like little notes on the cans of like whatever it was at the supermarket. I either put something, slipped it on the shelves. So, you never know. I'm not saying do that, but I'm just saying, there's a way to do that, do things. But he did that, put it all in the brochure. So all of those people that attended the launch of that museum for 9/11, they got truth in their brochures. So those are seeds that were planted once, and he was ready, presence of mind to go and do the work. That's what we have to do, work. So wow, kudos to him for that. And when they talk to pilots, I've been talking about aviation a lot, and aviation factors into this a lot because a good aviator will know that the narrative doesn't make sense, and especially an aviator of many years. So the pilots, the aviators reported, like when you talk about what happened at the Pentagon. I froze. Did I? Am I back? Let me see. I'll wait. There you are, Belinda. Thank you. Let me know if this sounds okay, because Juan told me that I froze for a bit. I'm freezing up. Not surprised. My signal's fine. Okay, it's back. Thank you, Betty. All right. It's not on my end. I have full bars, so I'm going to keep going. Okay. So the aviators, when we're talking about the Pentagon, what the narrative that, plane went into the Pentagon. So the pilots reported that an F-16 was more likely the model of airplane that most likely hit the Pentagon. So in terms of like the way that aircraft is, engineered and just the details, they determined that it was more than likely an F-16. So the Patriot Act and Homeland Security, we need to look into this because it changed our lives and it's still in place. So he also talks about something called fusion centers. Now, I'm not familiar with fusion centers, but that's something we need to dig into. Fusion centers. If you're familiar with it, let me know, because I need to do some research. So he basically stated that our civil liberties have been stripped. And this war on terror did nothing to diminish terrorism. So it's been a war on the people, okay? So he talked about the COVID-19 and the VAERS. The VAERS reports are underreported. So his estimation was in the millions, okay? Because again, as I'm talking about 9/11, he is taking both 9/11 and the COVID-19, and he's looking at the parallels and what has happened to strip more and more of our civil liberties. And we need to be concerned. We need to get active. This is a call to action. I repeat. Okay, about 29,000 deaths, as they are reporting them to be natural causes, sudden adult death syndrome. So 29,000 Americans in the VAERS reports. Now, it's grossly underreported. Now, there could be, I don't even want to repeat the number. It's so troubling. I'm just not going to repeat it. I don't know why. I just don't want to. It's really, really something that we're going to have to get ready for. This is big. That's why we don't have the luxury to not be engaged in this. So life insurance actuaries have reported 40% higher deaths reported. Now, prior to the events of both things, 2020 and 2001, there were exercises. So, when we hear about they're doing exercises and, seeing how the responses would be to a particular thing. And I was part of, like, when I think about it, I was part of like a team of people that planned like emergency type of scenarios when I worked in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai. They would have nurses, like if you signed up to help out with these like they call them like role plays, you know what I'm talking about. They do like, what is it called, help me with that, like simulate like a simulated event. And that's always weird. I don't know, something about it, I was always signing up to help out with some of that stuff. And we even had something at my church in LA for anybody who wanted to help with emergencies that would help, happen. That's kind of odd. Now I'm looking at things a little differently. Okay, as you probably are. 1 minute. Okay, so the simulations were happening prior to 2020, and Bill Gates was involved in the simulations of, like, if a terrorist like event happened. So they were doing these simulations prior to 2020. Okay, so building 7, it dropped symmetrically in its footprint. So building 7 is what he calls the smoking gun. Major censorship of this story by the media. So anybody who talked about building 7 was off the cuff, conspiracy crazy. Remember, like, they did not let that narrative get out. And especially Barry Jennings, his testimony, he gave his testimony right, like on the spot, and he went around talking to various people. So his testimony was amazing. So the witnesses, like Barry Jennings, they reported explosions. So thermite was found in the dust, and molten iron throughout the debris. So the people cleaning up and everything, they were looking at what looked like, he said, lava that was in the debris. Can you imagine hot lava? Molten iron, thermite. So thermite is an incendiary used in military operations to cut through steel. And it cuts through steel like a hot knife into butter. Okay, and it's a mixture of iron oxide and some kind of aluminum stuff. If you're into the science, let me know what thermite is. So the thing that one of the people that was a part of the, listening, it was interactive. You were allowed to raise your hand and, ask him questions. So someone asked about architecture education. He may have been like either in architectural school or somehow connected with maybe engineering or something. But he said that the architectural schools are indoctrinating the students on the magic melting steel science. So you know how I have a concern about how medical professionals are indoctrinated, the nurses and doctors and everybody else, because of the Rockefeller, the allopathic medicine model. So we've been indoctrinated to only believe, like, pushing big pharma, everything, right? And the architects are also indoctrinated in their education. And now that makes sense because we have been observing architecture with a different viewpoint, right? A lot of us have been going through different research into architecture when it relates to history and calendars, dates, and timelines. We've been looking at this for over a year now. A lot of us, it took me a while to catch up with it. I've told you my story about how Joseph over in Ireland, he was the one that he got me to pay attention to history and architecture. So I am forever thankful for that, Joseph. So you are doing good things over there in Ireland, even though you say your country is not yet awakened. I know you're doing good work to wake them up, and Godspeed to you. So next page. Okay, so steel frames. So they want us to believe, like, in these building, if they have fires, like a basic office type of fire, they want people to think that a basic kind of office fire could possibly affect steel frame. Now, he mentioned, and I'm still needing some clarification. I'm trying to understand it all. Thank you. So it's iron oxide. Let me change my note. Iron oxide. Oh, okay. Aluminum and iron. Okay, I did write it correctly. Thank you, Sean. Sean, were you on that call earlier today? I know you know this stuff, but I was just wondering if you were on that call. So he mentioned about 20 columns, steel frames that were at the foundation of the World Trade Center buildings. So with 20 over, like maybe 20 or more steel columns, you'd have to take those columns out before you could, have a building like controlled demolition type of thing. So whoever did all this, they took care of the columns prior to all of this, okay? So what else? He said, we're being lied to, and this is the biggest lie of the century. And he said that when he woke up to the 9/11 truth, he felt like it hit him like a 2x4. It really, hit him hard. And he wants to wake up the sleeping public. He talked about mass psychosis that's going on right now, or either one of the gentlemen did. Mass psychosis, and we're seeing the effects of the mass psychosis. If you look at the crime stats in the cities, it doesn't make sense. It's like people are losing their mental abilities to deal with the stresses of our days. They're losing it. It's a lot of mental health issues going on right now. So the mass psychosis and the power of fear, and how these people that do these things like 9/11 and COVID-19, they telegraph, of course we talked about that, they telegraph what they're going to do. And he mentioned the 2012 Summer Olympics, in which they did that really weird, if you know what I'm talking about, that opening ceremony where they had children, and it was like they had what was it, like patient beds and nurses dancing around, like they looked like ghouls, and this was really sick, really dark. So they were telegraphing there, and they don't want to inspire the public. That's not what they're doing. Even though it could seem beautiful and everything, they're not trying to inspire, but they're instilling a sense of dread, fear. And that's a programming that they layer it. So they do something to telegraph early on, and then we know about the predictive programming. So they foreshadow and instill this into the public consciousness. And they also, by doing that, they prepare the public to accept the solution that they will give. So you can just see how people are ready to they don't want to be afraid. Like, just take care of it. I don't want to think about it. They kept telling the people, just put it in your arm. Remember, they were just talking to people like on a level of it was so insulting. Just put it in your arm, they were saying. Take a donut and all of this kind of stuff. He also said that the 9/11 truth movement, as it has, developed over and progressed over the years, it's been used also. Even though we're telling the truth about what happened on 9/11, the people that did it, the group rather, they like the truth like that to get out. By the way, he said they enjoy it because even though it's truth and they can't really keep it from getting out, as we see, they like to have the effect of, they think that it demoralizes the people to hear the truth, because they believe that in hearing the truth and knowing that we never seem to see justice, that it demoralizes the people, and it makes the people feel that the elite, the people that do this, are all powerful, and that they will never face judgment, and they are, they're just above law. So this is something that I believe is not working out anymore for them. So he mentioned that he just they want the people to believe that there's nothing you can do. These are your overlords. Klaus Schwab is telling you to eat the bugs and enjoy the bugs. And you have nothing but bugs. So they want us to think Klaus Schwab and people like him at the World Economic Forum and Tedros of the WHO, that they are above the law. And that's not true, because this is the day of reckoning. They have lost the narrative. They've never lost it like this, to my knowledge. And now, they continue the old playbook, in other words. And somebody made a point on the call earlier that I believe he was, he's an oath keeper, law enforcement person. He was on the call, really good, engagement. And he said that he believes that this group of psychotic elite, they have pushed too far. They've actually it's too much. So, how they say you're doing too much? They're doing too much. So in that they're doing too much, they've overplayed their hand. And you know what happens when people overplay their hand? They make a lot of mistakes. And we can look at it right now in the bumbling presidency of Joe Biden, Jojo Magoo, Dark Brandon, and Kamala Harris. It is the other day, by the way, if you pay attention to Fashion Week, I used to be into Fashion Week, and I'm like, that ghoulish stuff, I could care less about it. So Fashion Week went on, and I think it was at the UN. It's like, okay, this is like Hunger Games at this point. So they have Fashion Week, and God, I know it was ugly, ugly clothes. But Kamala Harris has a stepdaughter who is a model, and she was in the fashion shows. She modeled for, I don't know what designer. Like I said, I don't even pay attention. So she walked the runways of Fashion Week. And if you've ever seen her stepdaughter, she's unique, I'll say. Not quite somebody that I would envision like gracing the catwalk, you know what I'm saying? Like an Iman or Beverly Johnson or someone like that, or Cindy Crawford even. I don't like, I come from that era of the supermodels, and even before that, Beverly Johnson was a model to me, and Iman and people like that. But this crop of models is just, it's like anything, the degradation and the, just everything is just diminishing returns. So you look at the models now and you're like, they don't appeal to you as someone to wear haute couture and walk on a stage, even though, what do I know? I got fired from not knowing how to walk in stilettos very well. But still, I tried my hand at the modeling thing, but I can judge a model, okay, from a objective standpoint. I'm not just being hard on her because of Kamala. I'm just saying, when I looked at her and they're telling me she's a model, I'm like, okay, she's a model. Just like they tell us all kinds of things. They tell us that, whatever they want to tell us, right? So that is going on. It's just a clown world, just to the nth degree. So anyway, moving on, I want us to know about Richard Gage, and I will invite him to come and talk to us. He and his wife, Gail, and maybe even Jim could come talk to us. Jim and Charles. Like I said, their newsletter is amazing. I look forward to it every time it comes out. And what else did I want to share about? It was something else. Wait a minute before I head out. And I want to ask anyone who was on the call if you would like. Oh, yes. Okay. One thing I want to share. I did raise my hand. I almost put my hand down. You know when you raise your hand, you're like, oh, maybe not. I'm too nervous. So 1 minute. I'm still here with you. I raised my hand during the question time. And of course, you know me, you know your sister. I had to add in our mud flood. I slipped it in. Okay. I didn't want to take him off subject because that's not polite to do, but I felt that there was a relevance, okay? So what I asked, if you weren't there, I asked if just his opinion I wanted to hear, basically. I said that when our group, I mentioned us, our little tribe here in the Chatmosphere, I said that we've been doing a lot of research into the origins of a lot of architecture. And I mentioned that we look at the date that many of the buildings in our nation and world have been constructed, and they tell us it's like the mid to late 1800s. And I said that then also the early 1900s as well. And I mentioned like the 1918 flu, what is it, Spanish flu, 1918 Spanish flu, and the similarities to the 2020 pandemic, in that you can look at those pictures and you see the masking, and you just see how people were just, they have their Edwardian, whatever, Middle Ages, whatever clothing, and they're walking through the streets in the mask, right? And then you could just see how they were putting people onto, the gurneys. They were putting them onto the ambulance things, and it was during this whatever time period. And I mentioned that the World's Fairs, especially the World's Fair in the Bronx in 1918, and what I basically wanted to know what he thought about the cycles that they seem to be doing this. I didn't know whatever his opinion was. I didn't mention mud flood because I know mud flood might incite people to think like, oh, that's crazy, or I don't know. But I just said I wanted to talk to him based on his knowledge of architecture. And are we on the right track with questioning the narrative? Because I got him to, of course, he agreed that no, they didn't have the technology to build these buildings back in the 1800s. So I could see something happen. Like he was like, that's interesting. And I said, well, I'm just saying that the way that the Spanish flu happened, and now that we're learning a lot about that, and even Dr. Fauci mentioned some things about the Spanish flu, if you remember. And he was even saying that wearing masks are not effective. It didn't help anyone in the Spanish flu, and it won't help in 2020. Yet he was, they were pushing it, and they're still pushing it. So I want to have him come and talk to us about his work, because he's out here, and he said just use him as a resource. He's here for us. So I want his name to get out here for our community, and for him to make the rounds talking to us, and engaging and giving that call to action to either lock arms with him and support his work. And just having him come on your platforms and talk is going to be good, because like I said, the 9/11 truth and the demand for real investigations is flooding into the mainstream. Again, 35,000 architects and engineers are demanding real investigations into 9/11. So that's very encouraging. And what else did I want to say? That's it. Unless anybody else has, if you were on the call, let me know if you would like to add anything to what I shared. I believe that's it in terms of the notes that I took. I just wanted to share it if you didn't get a chance to jump on this forum. I was very impressed with Richard and the team. And I mentioned, when I asked a question, I talked about the pandemic in New York City when I was working, and there was a nurse who was on this forum, and she reached out to me, so we connected. So that would be good. Once I start to engage with her, we're going to be talking on email, and she may be somebody that we would want to talk to and have a nice forum to talk about more things as they unfold. Yesterday, everybody, I had to go to another appointment with the person that I'm advocating for. And I just have to say that I have to remain in this fight, okay? Because the tyranny that's still going on in the hospitals is not acceptable. And I know that one or two of the nurses have unfriended me because of yesterday's events, where it's always one person that challenges me because I don't mask. And I'm walking freely and just talking. I'm very, engaged. Hi, everybody. Nobody says anything, but it's always one person. And again, one person, she comes up to me, she has a little bit of power, she must be the manager, she has the I hate to say it, Karen, sorry, she has the Karen haircut, the asymmetrical Karen haircut. She looks like whatever they say. Sorry to all the Karens, but give us another name that describes this kind of person. So here she comes over, and she's like, oh, do you need a mask? First she hollers it, do I need a mask? And I said, no, I'm good, because I'll give you one. Oh, no, thank you. Now I'm on a call. I have my, device, and I'm literally on a business call. She walks up to me, and I have my earphones on, and she's like, you need to put your mask on. And I'm looking up like, wow, because I made sure I was sitting way off. It was a lobby full of older people in the mask, and this is a cancer center. So you have all these older people with cancer, and they're masked, double masked. And I want to say, how dare you? How dare you do that to the people? You will pay for this. And so I'm the only one unmasked. And I'm tired of being the only one. Why doesn't anybody else stand up to this? So, I look up and I'm like, hey, I'm on a call right now. And she's like, you have to put your mask on. And I'm like, okay, you know me, I try to be cool. Sorry, I really try. And the rudeness gets to me. And I just looked at her. I said, How about you start out with saying hello? And she was like, in her two mask, and she's beginning to turn all sorts of shades of red now. And I said, yeah, why are you so rude? Why don't you just be a human being and just greet me? And she was like, you need to put your mask on. And I said, you've already told me that, miss. I said, so go on and go back to whatever you were doing, because I'm on a call right now, please. And you know what she did? Oh, I told her, I said, by the way, what you're doing is violating my rights as well as everyone else. You're enforcing things that are and I mentioned, all the stuff that, the Nuremberg and all that stuff. So she was like, they glaze over when you hit them with that. It's like, oh my God, right. So then she knew that she was no match for the truth. So guess what she does? She resorts to what? Calling security. Security. So I had security called on me, y'all. So security came, and it was like some big woman and a little man. It looked like a cartoon, like big and small. So Biggie Smalls came over, they come over in their uniform. That's right. It's spoon time. So Biggie Smalls, they came over. I'm looking down I'm on a call, right? Thank God it's all muted and everything. They didn't hear me. So I'm looking down, right? And I look and I see these work shoes. I see like all these shoes. Can you imagine? I'm looking down and I see all these shoes. They're lining up in front of me. And I'm like, oh boy. So I look up and it's security, it's Biggie Smalls. And it was a nurse that I knew. I know her, okay? I know a lot of people at this facility. And I've done a lot of good things for this particular nurse. She was like the big gun. So she's been, promoted and stuff. And she was like, you could tell her, she was in her two masks. And she's like, Jennifer, please, can you just put a mask on? And I said, no. And I'm not going to say her name, but I said, you know what? You know that this thing is over, and you know that these masks don't work. So I wasn't very loud, okay? Not too loud, but I was loud enough that I wanted everybody in the little vicinity to hear. I said, you know that these masks don't work, and this is over with. So why are you doing this? And she was like, I could just tell she was like, please, Jennifer, please. I don't want to have to kick you out. But I was just, I just said, I was calm, but I was a little bit volume up a little. And I said to her and Biggie Smalls, I said, you all, oh, wait, let me go back. The manager with the asymmetrical Karen haircut who called security on me, I told her, I said, you know what? I said, you are a Nazi. So I keep calling people Nazis. I can't help it. I said, you're a Nazi and you're operating like this is Nazi Germany. And she was like, she kind of giggled. I said, and you're in trouble. You're in trouble with God, what you're doing. Just know. God is going to deal with you. And she laughed. I guess I did sound crazy. And she started laughing. And I said, you can laugh if you want, but you're going to get it. God is going to get you. I know she was like, oh God, let me call security. So that's when Biggie Smalls. And, I let them know too. I ran down all the things that they're guilty of by enforcing such a thing. And then they said, gosh, you're the only one not wearing a mask. I said, because not everybody bows their knee to tyranny. And, they were like, they left me alone, though. They didn't kick me out yesterday. And, the person that I'm advocating for, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. They know what I'm like, though. But I think they're kind of secretly enjoying this, as they have and they just told me, they were like, every time I go with them, they're like, Jennifer, can you wear the mask so that the doctors feel better? So you can make them feel comfortable. And I'm like, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. Why do I have to wear a mask to make people feel comfortable? Where? Call to action. We need to stop this crazy bus, okay? We've got to stop it, okay? It cannot keep going. But I went to the appointment and we were talking with the oncology doctor and I had the book. He's trying to push all this, like he loves all the pharmaceuticals. He's like, "Oh, we have so many new cancer treatments. It's wonderful. It's all this immuno thing and immuno and we find out with the markers," and he's all excited, right? And so and he called the drug, this particular immunotherapy, he called it a miracle. And I took my Back to Eden book and I said, "This is a miracle right here. This is a miracle." And he looked. I said, "Why don't you ever talk about natural stuff? Why don't you ever talk about nutrition?" And whenever I'm talking to him, he's so nervous. He runs back and forth and he prints out stuff and he brings it back in the room because I'm there taking notes. And so they're all scrambling. I see. And then one of the nurses that came in, she had the flu shot all ready on, with her. She put it on the desk. "Oh, it's time for the flu shot. Time for your flu shot." And I said, "Hold it. Wait a minute." I said, "Why are you pushing a flu shot on a person who has cancer? Why are you doing that? That doesn't seem like a good idea." And she was like, 2 masks on. She's like, "Oh, uh-oh." I said, why are you doing?" And the person I'm advocating, they were ready to take the flu shot, like put it in both arms. I mean, they love the doctors and they trust everything. That's why it's good that I'm there as the pit bull, okay? The advocate, okay? I would love to advocate for any of you. If you needed me to come to the hospital with you, I'd come, okay? And I'll be on good behavior, okay? But anyway, I told this nurse, I said, "You know that this flu shot stuff is like, it's not good for somebody who's having already immune issues. They're fighting cancer. Why would you put that on top of somebody who's fighting cancer?" And she was like, "Oh, she started telling the truth. It was really fascinating. It was like it triggered something." And she said, "No, you're right. She said, and one thing I want to say, she had 2 masks on because this facility requires 2 masks. Can you imagine? So they have like a fabric one on top of their surgical mask. I noticed yesterday that all of the healthcare people, they were gasping for breath. They were breathing into their mask, and I could see the mask like deflating, like they were sucking. When people are talking to you with the mask and they're sucking it in, it's like going in. And she was having respiratory distress. She was talking because there's so much teaching that they have to do that they're talking through 2 masks, and I could just hear the strain. And I'm just thinking, I'm looking at these people, it's so stupid. It's like, you are a healthcare professional. You're sitting here talking to somebody about cancer therapy. You can't even breathe. You're having trouble breathing and talking. It's like, I don't know. What is it going to take, everybody? What? I'm tired of them, everyone. I don't want to go out there anymore, hardly. But I do. I'm just kidding. I'll keep going out. I'm having good interactions as I go out, by the way. I'm enjoying all of the going out, though. But the hospital is the tyranny center. I really don't like what is happening inside of hospitals. And that's why right now, I told you that my development, okay, and the need for pulling through Jubilee is that we need good people that have resources, okay, that we can build a parallel to what they're doing. So if you have somebody or you yourself are facing some kind of illness, you don't have to, your only option will not be the hospital. We need other options. But again, people, this is a call to action. We cannot expect anyone to do it for us. We need to We need to rise up. We need to establish other options. And you know what that takes? Money. It takes resources. And a lot of us need to learn about money as a tool so that we can take this back. And we need to have the power of the resources to do that, because you can't do it with just a dream and a hope. We have to do the work. And a lot of us need to get healthy when it comes to everything wellness and wealth. Okay? We need to be the good people that have the resources. We need to be the Josephs of our families. We need to have resources that we can go and stock a storehouse for the people that will not be ready for anything. They just want the government to take care of them. So just know that we need good people to rise to the occasion and pull through this jubilee. Okay, this is our jubilee, but we have to do the work. We have to show ourselves approved by doing and willing to get out there, get our hands dirty. Okay, and we got to fight against the tyranny. We cannot just make people feel good by wearing a damn mask. If you get kicked out of the hospital, then so be it. But I didn't get kicked out yesterday, so I'm still in the game, okay? And again, I want to thank you all for joining. I'm going to end it here. I didn't see where anybody else who was on the call wanted to share, but if you do at another time, no worries. But just know in the meantime, I'm going to reach out to Richard and Gail Gage, and I'm going to invite them to come and talk to us. And I know it will be wonderful, okay? So until next time, I love you all, and stay blissy, and I will see you possibly tomorrow, okay? I'm in a lot of training right now. In fact, I have a training tonight. I'm really excited about it. So I'm really learning a lot and just expanding. So you'll be seeing all of this new stuff unfolding in my life. I'll be sharing it with you. It's a journey. I want all of us to be on this journey of wellness and to fight to pull through our jubilee and put our republic back in good standing, law and order. That's what it's going to take, everyone. So until next time, take care. All right? Bye-bye.